Tuesday afternoon, Paige walked into work. Like every Tuesday, she worked from 2 in the afternoon until 9 o'clock at night at the very popular Narcissus restaurant, not far from the Space Needle. She'd been at the restaurant for almost 8 years and had worked her way up from line cook to head pastry chef. Classically trained at one of the most prestigious culinary schools in France, Paige was just an up-and-coming chef when she'd met Adam. They dated, fell in love, and then got married. He'd been a grad student at the time, so they lived modestly, scrimping and saving where they could. Her dream had always been to open up her own restaurant, the Lilac and Lavender Bistro, because they had always been her favorite flowers, and she thought it was not only a hip but also chic-sounding name. Hipsters could abbreviate it to the LLB or something kitschy like that. When Adam graduated, they made plans to start socking money away for her restaurant. Only life had other plans, and now, 5 years later, there she was, still at Narcissus, still working for someone else, still not her own boss. "How's it going?" Jane, her apprentice and a pastry chef student, asked as Paige tied her apron around her waist and washed her hands in the big stainless steel industrial-sized kitchen sink. Paige dried her hands with a paper towel. "It's okay. Where's Tristan? I didn't see his car out front." It was not at all like the manager of the restaurant to not be at work by 2 in the afternoon. Sometimes the staff swore the man lived in his office upstairs. He was there so much. Jane's mouth dipped into a frown. "You haven't heard? Did you not get my message?" Paige shook her head. "Heard what? What message?" What the heck was going on? Jane rolled her sky-blue eyes. "That's right. You weren't here yesterday. The owner sold the restaurant and the new owner fired Tristan. She says she wants to manage the place herself." Paige's eyes nearly popped out of her head. "What?" Jane nodded, then blew a strand of blonde and purple-streaked hair off her forehead. "Yeah, according to Jill, Tristan's already taken off down to Mexico to lick his wounds. No word when he'll be back, or if he'll be back." Why hadn't Tristan called her? Paige thought they were friends. She'd been at Narcissus for 8 years. Had that not meant anything to him? Reeling from the news, she shook her head as she asked, "Who bought the place?" Jane's lips pursed. "A woman by the name of Marcelle Thibodeau, and from what I've heard, she's a real cow. I've only met her once, though, so I can't say for certain if that rumor is true. But the fact that she canned Tristan isn't working in her favor to counter that rumor." Marcelle Thibodeau. Why did that name sound so familiar? Jane leaned in and brought her voice down to nothing more than a whisper. "Rumor has it she owned a bunch of other restaurants all over Seattle and is in the habit of running her staff ragged and doesn't believe in the after-shift drink." Now it was Paige's turn to purse her lips. She liked Jane, but the woman was still quite young and very much into the partying scene. She would often start her evening out at the restaurant bar after her shift, imbibing her after-shift free drink, and then taking advantage of her staff discount. Most of the time it wasn't a problem, but once in a while a friend or two would join her, and they would have one too many drinks and things would get a bit loud. Never out of hand, but Narcissus had a certain reputation for being an upscale dining experience. The last thing customers or the owner wanted was a group of 20-somethings getting carried away and disrupting someone as they ate their $49 rack of lamb with their $57 half bottle of Malbec. "I'm sure she's not that bad," Paige said, grabbing the tub of flour from off the counter and carrying it over to the enormous stand mixer. "Maybe it just runs a tight ship, but that probably means her restaurants are successful." She began to measure out flour in a 5-cup measuring cup. Jane made a face that said she wasn't convinced, and her lips flattened out. "I don't think that's it. There's tight ship, and then there's tight ass. And I think she's the latter. She fired Tristan, don't forget."